live. Your Excellencies, distinguished ministers, guests, ladies and gentlemen, it was in 1969 that the first packets flowed across the internet, and the internet came into existence. So we're looking back now, from my point of view, that was, it had been 20 years already that had been happening when I came along, and decided that while the internet was exciting, it was just spreading to the point that it was becoming particularly reasonable to use it in Europe in 1989. That was when I felt that the internet was an exciting possibility as a platform on which one could build an information space, and we really need an information space. So back in 1989, there was no World Wide Web. But we had all the pieces. I was working in a place where people had machines on their desks connected to cables that went into the walls that were eventually connected to their machines. So it was then that, using the very strong structure of the internet, which had been built by people beforehand, I proposed the protocols HTML, the language HTML, HTTP protocol, and URLs that produced the web. So that was 1989, 20 years ago now. So looking back on that, it's worth remembering that the thing that made the web work then, and the most important thing about it still today, is its universality. The core value that it is one universal space. Two webs doesn't work. It has to be one web. It has to be one web for all sorts of information, not just polished information, crummy information, ideas that people just have. It has to be one web, no matter what hardware you have, no matter where you buy your computer from. And now, more importantly, what sort of device you have, whether you have something like this or something like a laptop. Then people tended to have computers which was very similar, but now we realize that it's important that the web should be one web, no matter which sort of device you're using for, particularly for mobile devices. Then, also in the list of things which I put in there, obviously the web has to be one web globally. So, well, back then, the internet then, from a web point of view, did not speak Arabic at that point, because Unicode was not available for me to use, but later on it did. And when XML was created, then XML was defined to use Unicode, so at that point, the web, the internet, spoke Arabic. So, the universality of the web obviously includes this universality when it comes to internationalization. That means not just different characters, not just whether your letters go across this way or across that way or down that way. It means a lot of things also about how different cultures in the world need to be able to use the World Wide Web. Well, 1989, to go historically, then was an idea. It went out. I put it out on the internet, which existed, sending messages out on the internet, and people picked it up. Very soon it started to grow. By 1993, we really needed something to coordinate it. So in 1994, we formed the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C. That was 15 years ago. W3C, all kinds of people coming together to decide on the future of the World Wide Web protocols. It's sponsored by industry, with, unlike most standard bodies at the time, a large technical staff to help things move rapidly, but not just industry, also governments, individuals, academics, all coming to the table in what we now call multi-stakeholder group to produce standards. Originally, HTML, HTTP, URIs, working very closely with the Internet Engineering Task Force, in which we put the HTTP process through. But many other areas that we've branched out since then, and there are lots of recommendations that have been produced. In 1997, an important development was we realized that we needed to specially recognize the potential that the web had for people with disabilities. We realized that the web was somewhere where instead of it being more difficult, it could in fact be easier in a way for people with disabilities, because on the web we could put out alternative forms of the same material and link them together very easily. So the Web Accessibility Initiative we started back in 1997. After that, we also had an internationalization group, and both the accessibility and the internationalization cut across all the work the WVC has done. So, to make the web progress, to keep it one web, to keep the things which we felt were most important, we had a consortium which did standards. And standards were and are